Let's continue to look at the 27 elements of a highly effective private duty home care business, and we're in the profitability pillar at the managerial level, and the next element that we want to look at is operating costs. Now, we always get questions from owners of private duty home care companies about what should my operating costs be compared to my revenue, and how does that relate to others in the industry. And so in 2009, we conducted the industry's very first benchmarking survey, and we had readers of our newsletter, Private Duty Today, participate in an online survey to gather that data, and we have continued to support that benchmarking process. And in our first benchmarking survey, we learned very precisely about operating costs. Again, I'll call your attention to the Academy for Private Duty Home Care workbook, and there's some information in here. And one of those pieces of information is a chart that shows you the relationship between total revenue, gross margins, and operating costs. And as we look at this information, remember we said in the previous video, we have 100% of our revenue, and then we look at the cost of caregivers, which is 60%, and then that gives us 40% gross margins. Now that 40% then is what we have to live on to operate our business, and let's look at how that 40% breaks out. So we looked at the benchmarking data. We found that the median-sized company in the middle of our benchmark category spent about 3.5% of their total revenue on sales and marketing activities. The median-sized company spent 1.5% on recruiting and retention of caregivers. Those companies spent about 12% of their revenue on office staff compensation, benefits, and the other costs of maintaining their office staff. And the company spent 10% of their overall revenue on other office and overhead expenses, and that would include rent and utilities, phone expenses, computer expenses, software, all the other costs of running your business. And what that leaves is a combination of owner's compensation and gross profit or net profit of 13%. 13% owner's comp and net profit. And so we break down that overall P&L again, and we have 100% represents total revenue coming in the door. And then the distribution of that 100% revenue is 60% to the cost of care, and that leaves 40% gross margin. And then the 40% gross margin gets divided up into 3.5% sales and marketing, 1.5% recruiting and retention, 12% for office staff compensation and benefits and other costs, 10% for other overhead costs, and that leaves 13% owner's income and net profit. And so we'll talk more in a future video about how you can control your operating costs and increase your net profit. To get the full benefit of those videos, you'll want to become a premium member of the Academy for Private Duty Home Care, and you can do that at www.privatedutytoday.com.